Thank you for tuning in to Hacks and Hobbies with your host, Junaid. In Season 2 of Hacks and Hobbies, we're visited by our amazing guests coming from all walks of life who want to learn their story, their struggles, and their journey on how they got to where they are today. So stick around. In this episode, I get to speak with Bonnie Marie Williams. She's a voice actor at VO Superhero. She is the ultimate superhero and voiceover superhero. And she's got an amazing journey that we're about to learn about. She's got a bachelor's degree in theater arts and acting concentration, and she's into a lot of cool things that I wish I had the opportunity to get into, but we all know about my addiction to different hobbies. But let's learn more about Bonnie Marie Williams. Hey, Bonnie, thank you so much for taking the time and coming on to the podcast.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So, Bonnie, it almost seems like we've just met, but it also seems like that I've known you for a very long time. I absolutely love your passion for superhero and using the superhero terminology in your branding of your voiceover acting. If you wanted to know, my screen name or my handle all over the internet is Super Junaid.
That's why I was like, okay,
Right.
we're going to get along just fine.
And I'm absolutely passionate about superhero fandom and all that good stuff, and following the journeys of so many superheroes and movies and whatnot. And when I saw that you're a voiceover superhero, because I would totally love to get into doing voiceovers for things. And I didn't know about myself, but over time, I've learned to appreciate the power of the voice. Like a long time ago, when I first spoke on the microphone, I sounded so weird. I was like, who is this guy? It doesn't sound like me at all. And now I just love talking to people and hearing myself. And I've gotten a ton of compliments about, that you've got a voice for radio. And I was like, really? Thank you. That's very nice of you. So tell me your journey. And if anybody was visiting Bonnie Marie Williams' LinkedIn profile, they didn't know exactly what's going on. But I want to hear it from the source. Bonnie, tell us your story, your journey.
Sure. So I had family family friends, but they were considered family that were in the business. So I've always kind of been adjacent to showbiz, but I never really thought that I was going to actively do it until I was a teenager. So when I was little, I really wanted to be an astronaut because I was raised with superheroes and comic books and also musical theater and the space program. So it's an interesting sort of combination to be raised on. So I think I would say probably some of my first words were some of the early astronauts in the program. So, or who are these X-Men? And like I could name them off of a poster that I had in my bedroom. And it was the X-Men from the 80s when they had mohawks and stuff. It was super cool.
Yeah.
So I'm dating myself here. But so I wanted to do that. And then, I was told I had to be better with math and science and, that there are some risks to going into space. And I thought, okay, that's not for me. Math has never been my strength. And I'm also getting older and getting motion sickness. So maybe it worked out that I didn't want to be an astronaut. I don't think I could have survived some of the tests that they have to go through. So, but now I can play one. So that's
Nice.
a cool thing. So wanted to do that. And then I didn't. And then I said I was going to go into the FBI. Like, okay, I'm going to do this. I would be lying if I said that Dana Scully from the X-Files didn't have at least a little influence in that, but also Sandra Bullock in Miss Congeniality.
Yes.
Underrated movie in my opinion. And, then I realized as I was looking more into it, that it was going to be a little bit heavy psychologically, depending on what you were going to be working on. And I said, okay, I don't think I can sleep at night working on some of those cases. So I said, okay, well, I was always involved in theater. I was always writing my own plays and one of my daycare teachers probably thought they were the worst things ever, but she still said she would direct them. And she just was always so encouraging with it. She was never like, that's dumb, get a different dream. She's like, okay, you have a ton of energy. Let's go ahead and put this into good use. So I was
Yeah.
always like planning musicals and planning this play and writing this and doing this. And so I kind of carried that with me into high school. So I took an acting class in high school, and I was doing some of the scenic work backstage. And I kind of lost my confidence when I was around 14 or so, because it's puberty and adolescence, and you're starting
Yeah.
high school, and if you already don't feel like you fit in anyways, which I think
Mhm.
is kind of a universal theme, like nobody
Mhm.
really feels like they fit in.
No.
So I was doing some of the backstage work, I was doing scenic painting, crew work, and then I had talked to my acting teacher, and I said, hey, like, because she asked me, why aren't you auditioning? I said, I don't think I'm good enough. And she said,
Mhm.
no, Bonnie, you are good enough. I want to see you at auditions for our play in the fall.
Yeah.
And so I did. And then I got a speaking part, and it was really cool. And it kind of gave me my groove back in a way. And so
Nice.
I started doing that. And then I would say by the time I was 16, I was set. I said, no, I'm going to be an actor, and I'll do the hard work, and I'll do it to get there. And I'd
Mhm.
always wanted to be involved in the arts somehow.
Yeah.
And I knew that was where my future was going to be. And I say this with love, there are people who have your best intentions at heart, but they still want you to try to be realistic. They'll say, well,
Mhm.
you can't make it as an actor. And I say that out of love. So what if you go into this instead? What if you do
Yeah.
this instead? Where you're like, okay, I
Mhm.
know you mean well for me. I understand you're saying these things out of love, but I know that this is the right thing for me to do.
Yeah.
So you have to keep listening to that inner dialogue. And I've talked
Oh,
myself in and
absolutely.
out of it so many times. So I went to college to become a theater major. And I said, okay, when I'm done with college, I'm going to go to New York, and I'm going to be on Broadway, and, I'm going to be in Beauty and the Beast, and I'm going to be in Wicked, and
Yeah.
all these dreams that I had. And I had a friend of mine in the theater department was working at the college radio station. She said, hey, do you want to do a commercial with us? I said, sure. What do I have to do? She said, well, it's for one of the local Mexican restaurants. You just have to act like you like Mexican food. And I said, it's not even acting. Like, sure, that'll be really hard. But that was my first time behind the microphone, and I thought it was
Nice.
really cool. But I didn't think anything of it with the way that things were going. I was like, okay, I'm going to graduate and I'm going to go. And then, I had some family things come up that kept me a little bit closer to home. So I said, okay, I'm going to, move into the city proper on my own, and I'm going to do that. And I'm really going to give it my all. And I was doing, TV and film. I was doing some cool stuff, but it didn't give me that feeling that I had when I was an undergrad doing
Mhm.
Shakespeare or doing musicals. And I was trying to find that feeling again.
Yeah.
And I went from different day jobs, one to the other. And eventually I ended up at a PR firm, which was really cool. It was very different. And there were celebrities coming in all the time, but you had to be cool. So you have to just treat people like they're normal, not like they're celebrities. And, it was a cool job, but then that job ended, and I was going through some really rough, like, personal things. And I thought, what the heck do I do now?
Yeah.
And a friend of mine who just kills it in voiceover, she said, hey, and I met her doing theater. She said, hey, I think you'd be really good at it. Do you want to come into my booth and give it a try? I said, okay, like, I'll try anything once.
Mhm.
And just having her throw things at me and improvising behind the mic and doing these different things, I had so much fun with it.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of that feeling that I had when I was pursuing theater as an undergrad. And I said,
Mhm.
wow, I have to pursue that. Like, that feeling.
Yeah.
It's when and it clicks. I said, okay, this is what I need to be doing. Like, I kind of kicked myself for not getting into it earlier, but I
Mhm.
didn't know that people could I didn't know it was a job. I didn't
Yeah.
know it was a form of acting, and it's one of those things that wasn't really talked about a lot. Like, you would see, behind the scenes features on Aladdin, and it would be Robin Williams, but you don't
Mhm.
think that it's maybe not a celebrity doing it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's when I got started with that, and life, took me on some twists and turns, and now I'm out here in North Carolina, and I'm doing it full time. So I never would have thought, as a 16-year-old sophomore in high school that who wanted to be on Broadway, that I would be doing voiceovers now, but there's
Yeah,
nothing else that I would want to be doing again.
that's so cool. That's an amazing journey. Um, but I see a lot of points where, you made the decision, and you're mentioning, how a lot of people have, quote unquote, their best interest about what you should be doing.
Yeah.
And I think one of the reasons is because they know that you're going to change, or you're going to be doing something that they won't have access to you,
Yeah.
and you're going to be a different person, or you're going to have different people that you're going to be hanging out with, and they don't want to lose you.
Mhm.
And it's really interesting because I hear that a lot, right? And anybody you talk to who's pursued their passion, has had that exact same conversation about, no, 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 you shouldn't be doing that. You should be doing this because there's a lot of money here. There's a lot of blah blah blah.
It's steady, it's secure,
Yes.
it's a normal thing that,
Yeah.
it's like if you're experiencing any sort of difficulty, and especially
Mhm.
when you're a creative entrepreneur, like there's
Yeah.
going to be difficulties, but
Yeah.
anytime you might vent and just say, "Oh my gosh, this is so hard."
Yeah.
And they'll say, "Well, what if you just go into this instead? What if you do
Yeah.
this instead?" Like, I don't want to do that instead. Like,
Exactly.
my
It-
heart wouldn't be in it. And I've been
Mhm.
in jobs where my heart wasn't in it. And I
Yeah.
could tell because I would just come home all the time exhausted
Hmm.
because you're putting in all that energy for something that doesn't make you happy.
Exactly. It's almost like telling a child who's been crawling for, past year or past 6 months or whatever. I don't know when kids. I didn't keep track of when my child started crawling, but you're telling them, don't try to walk. It's too hard for you. Keep falling down.
Yeah, just don't bother trying to walk. It's
Don't
hard.
bother. Just crawl. You get there
I don't wanna
faster.
see you get hurt anymore. I don't wanna see you trying. I don't wanna see you struggling. So just, and people mean well, but I think
Yeah.
there is also that sense of a loss of control, like you said.
Hmm.
And I mean, I've had people trying to talk me out of it forever, and there have been some where it was out of love and others where it was out of whatever it was with them telling me I wasn't good enough. And let me tell you, somebody telling you that you are not good enough is one of the biggest motivators if you can turn it into that.
Yes.
I had an ex-boyfriend, like I loved him dearly, and he told
Mhm.
me that, and he denied it later, of course, but he told me that he didn't think that I was good enough and that I wasn't what LA wanted
Oh man.
because he was trying to control me.
Hmm.
And, now when you're doing really well in what you wanna do,
Yeah.
like, his voice was in my head when I got cast in my first play inside of the
Mhm.
city,
Yeah.
and it was like, "Yeah, you're telling me I'm not good enough? Well, I'm doing it." It's one of the best, like, one of the best feelings is when you do what other people said you couldn't do.
Yes.
It's a good motivator.
It's a great motivator. You're absolutely right. One of my friends, Michael Lyons, he said, you have to just go and do it.
Yep.
And that little voice in your head, pay attention and put in motion things that's eventually going to get you there. And what's really interesting is I learned about meetups a lot later in life. Like all my experience was through either working in companies and learning about what people did, or having a lot of family. Like we had a ton of family growing up in California. But then I learned about Meetup and I was like, what? There's people that are talking about this stuff like photography. I was absolutely, so I met people that are also doing photography. So going, like, I opened myself to learn more, and I made those connections and got more out of like photography and filmmaking, and
Mhm.
like going out and meeting people who are already doing what you want to do is the best way. Like a lot of people that are telling us, oh, the best thing for you to do is this, it's because that's all they know, right?
Yep. Yep.
And the one question that's always in my back of my mind, and I don't want to ask them because it's rude, it's like, have you done it before?
Yeah, exactly.
Have you done what I want to do? No. Well, then how do you know that that's the best advice for me?
Yeah, totally. Being able to see that it can be done, like you
Mhm.
said, is like, well, they're doing it. Why can't I do it?
Yeah,
They've put in the work. Why can't it be me?
exactly.
It's so just a few months ago, kind of late summer, early fall last year, I kind of
Mhm.
lost my groove a little bit because I
Mhm.
was working a day job that had me working some pretty crazy hours and like getting ready for the wedding and doing all sorts of things. And I was feeling kind of emotionally vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I had an experience that just deflated me. Like I
Mhm.
was ready to quit. I was so
Mhm.
deflated. I was just tired. There was so much going on
Yeah.
and I was just feeling so defeated. And then I talked to a friend of mine who I've looked up to her for a long time since I started doing voiceover. And
Mhm.
she became a friend of mine just through life circumstances and
Yeah.
also one of my coaches. And like hanging out with her and just like she helped me kind of get my mojo back, and
Mhm.
like I told her, I said, you don't even know like how much it means to me, like being around you and seeing that you're doing it. And she said, sometimes you just need to see that it can be done. And then
Oh,
after
yeah.
that, it's like everything just picked up. Like I hit bottom, but
Mhm.
bounced back. It's been going well ever since. So it's that, you just have to see that somebody's doing it. If somebody else is doing it,
Yeah.
especially if they're coming from worse circumstances than you, why
Mhm.
can't you do it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like every mind is exactly has the same capacity to learn and execute. So if somebody can do it, then obviously I can too.
Exactly. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And that's what brought me onto, being a podcaster. I'd been wanting to start a podcast since 2012. And myself and two of my cousins, we actually started a podcast too. We ended up with 4 episodes, but being in different time zones. They were in LA. I was in Colorado. Being in different time zones, not finding the right time to record the episode, it just got harder. But then last year, I made up my mind. I said, I have to do this. Nobody else is going to do this for me or come out and be like, all right, let's do it. This is what you wanted to do. I'm here. Let's
Mhm.
get started. Nobody's going to do that.
Nope.
Do it on my own. And luckily, around that time, a friend of mine came up to me and he said, I want to start a podcast. What do I need to do? So I started doing my research all over again. I ran into Anchor and I was like, oh my God, I can do a podcast directly on my iPhone. I don't need all this extra gear. I can just start. I can
Mhm.
just start right
Just
now.
start.
And then
Yeah.
that's the thing, right? Nike said it 20, 30 years ago, just do it. You're going to figure out the problems. You're going to solve them. You just got to start moving, taking that first step. And that's what
Mhm.
I did. And I was like, a year later, I'm still doing it because I love it. It gives me so much fulfillment when I learn the stories of my professionals like yourself and people who are going after their dreams and making their superpowers into what they do as an everyday thing.
Mhm.
I just love those journeys and those stories. And
Absolutely.
yeah, the other thing that also triggered is last year I turned 42. And I was like, 42 is the ultimate answer,
It is. That it
right?
is.
Like, I have to do it. It has to be this year. And I'm, I've got the podcast. I'm a published author in one book and working on another book, and then working on my own book. Eventually, working on a video course on how to use your smartphone for video production. So
Oh,
I
that's
got a lot of
awesome.
things going. Yeah, I got a lot of things going, and oh, I also love acting, and I signed up on this app called Backstage.
Mhm.
They were looking for baby boomers to star in this Kaiser Permanente ad. So I put in my audition request, and they were like, "Come on down," and I got to be in this commercial to be an actor or somebody who's hurt their knees and they're at the hospital.
Mhm.
So that was pretty fun, you know, getting makeup or like anti-shine stuff put on your face so your face doesn't shine with all these lights. It was a pretty cool experience, and I want to do more of that. And I just haven't, being so busy with so many things, I haven't had a chance or been picked up yet again for more work.
Mhm.
But I know there's a lot more avenues that I can go after if I did want to do more with acting and
Exactly. And backstage is a good way to go. Like
Mhm.
that's where you go for a lot of the bigger casting calls. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things that you do when you
Mhm.
want to be an actor is you pick up backstage because you get all
Yeah.
the articles, you get all the casting calls.
Mhm.
You know, that was a great way to go. And it's
Yeah.
the fact that you said, "Okay, I wanna do this, so I'm gonna
Mhm.
do it, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna put it out there." Because, like you said,
Yeah.
it's not gonna come to you if you just keep thinking like, "Okay,
Exactly.
I'm here." You know, you have to make an investment
Exactly.
of your time, your everything, yeah.
Absolutely. And so today I took a lift to come back home after I dropped my car off, and I was talking to the Lyft driver, and he was like, "I'm searching for an IP, an intellectual property
Mhm.
that an idea that's that I can monetize on." So then I asked him, "Are you documenting whatever ideas are in your head?" He's like, "No. Whenever I search an idea, there's already somebody doing it." I was like, "Well, that didn't stop Walmart from coming up and,
Nope.
taking over Kmart's business. That didn't stop Target to continue to be a grocery store, or they didn't stop Lyft from starting their own thing, even though Uber was around. There's like tons of different companies doing the same thing. You just have to get out there and make your mark, document it, put all those ideas from your head onto paper so then you can have a look at it from another perspective."
Exactly, because I
And
think people get afraid of doing that because then it's out there, you know, then
yes.
they're facing it, and then the fear takes over, you know? So it's that, well, if I keep it in my head, nobody else is gonna see it, nobody else is gonna make fun of me, I don't
Yeah.
have to act on it. But I
Mhm.
wanna do it, but that fear takes over.
Yes, absolutely. And fear is good in some areas, but then fear of being a failure and not doing it is a failure in itself.
Mhm.
Really good point. See, I love this conversation. It's opening up my mind in a way that it's already open, but it's like we're on the same wavelength. Like we've
Totally.
gone through the same journey of facing the people and then putting those ideas on table and on the paper. And here's the thing, right? You got to spend more time on that discovery, on that pre-production of what you're planning on getting out there.
Totally. Yeah, everything is gonna take longer than you think it will.
Mhm.
Everything takes longer than you think it will. You're not gonna be an overnight success.
Yeah.
You're planning, you just have to get it out there. You have
Yeah.
to start putting the steps in place.
Yeah.
There's no other way around it, but my website took me longer than I thought it would,
Mhm.
but I knew what I wanted, I just didn't know how to articulate it, so it was trial and error. It
Yeah.
was so many different drafts of graphics and colors, and then finally when it clicked and I got what I wanted, I said, "Okay, it only took me 40 tries," but I had to start putting it out there, and I had to start putting things down so I could see it and I could say, "That's it, that's not it, keep that, scratch that," you know? But you have to start putting the pen to the paper and really trying to articulate what it is that you want, what it is that you're trying to create.
Exactly. That's so right. Cool. So I've had a website for my company for the longest time. And I think I put it up in 2004. And then I hadn't updated the website in a very long time. And I was like, well, that doesn't represent me anymore. And then I just shut it down because, well, I need to working on those drafts. And you said it took 40 tries for you,
It
just
felt
like
like 40.
felt like for you, right? Just like it took Thomas Alva Edison so many tries before he could come up with the light bulb,
Yeah.
right?
And a big part of it was, yeah, it was having to rebrand myself as a voiceover talent and
Mhm.
not just theater and stage. And so it
Yeah.
was doing that whole journey of like reading a book on branding by Celia
Mhm.
Siegel. I highly recommend it for creatives, but especially for voice actors.
Mhm.
Not getting paid to say that. I just really
Of
enjoyed that
course.
book. And it was so eye-opening because it kind of reaffirmed everything that I knew I wanted to present, but
Mhm.
sometimes you need to hear somebody else say it. You go, "Oh, okay,
Yes.
that is right." Like when somebody else says exactly what you're thinking, you're like, "Okay,
Mhm.
I just needed to hear it from somebody else. Make sure I'm not crazy that this is what I
Yeah.
wanna do."
If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. In fact, I'm recording this on my phone. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. So go ahead, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
But it was, the rebranding process and making
Mhm.
sure everything was cohesive, but it takes time, and
It
sometimes
does.
you have to burn it all down and rebuild. You have to scratch everything and start again from the bottom on a new foundation.
Yeah.
And it's a little
So,
scary to think, oh my gosh, I have to start all over. But
mhm.
then if you look at it on the flip side, it's like, wow, I get to start all over and create something entirely new and
Yeah,
something that can be amazing. And there's no limits to what I can create now because I don't have anything holding me back.
absolutely. And man, I attended VIP Film and TV Summit a couple weeks ago, and John Lee, he's a producer, and he's saying that a lot of these TV shows and movies, the script has gone through at least 60 to 70 drafts before it's even, considered finished.
Hmm.
And I was like, wow, that's that's
It's
insane.
insane. Yeah.
Right? Because you've gotta take it from all the filters and clean it up to get that point across. And listening to the story of Pixar and Toy Story, when they took the first draft to Disney, Woody was a very, very cynical person, very mean person. And then they were like, all right, we're going to go back and tone that a ton down. And then it would still get that little glimpse of meanness, right, in the movie. But then it's just so well balanced
Hmm.
that Toy Story just took over hearts and minds of like everybody that watched that movie.
Exactly.
And but we have to start. That's the key point here. You've got to start if you want to do what you love to do and get it out there. Man,
Hmm.
love it. Cool. It seems like we've been talking forever, but it hasn't even passed that much time. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. What do you think?
I think it's a good thing.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I'm not crazy.
No, no, no.
All right. So, some question that I usually ask my guests is,
Totally.
and they open up more portal doors for sure. What is one hobby that you wish you got into?
I feel like I've tried a lot of different things
Hmm.
and I like trying different things. I don't like to limit myself. So I
Yeah.
think I'm going to answer this. I really wish I understood what the heck my husband talks about with his work. Like
Hmm.
he does a lot of tech stuff and I wish I had more of an understanding on that side of things. So
Hmm.
I guess I would say like follow him around for a day at work and say, okay, I want to be able to understand what it is you're talking about. So
Yeah.
I think he had said, "Oh, if you knew how to do this, we would be able to hire you for it." But I don't know how to do any of that. So
Sure.
I think that would be really cool is to go follow him and some of the other guys
Hmm.
at work and just say, "Okay, like I'm going to try to learn this." But
Yeah.
I honestly think my brain would explode.
I don't think your brain will explode. Our brain creates 1,400 new cells or neurons every day. So you can dedicate them to learn that. I mean, I'm just saying.
I could, but I don't
That
think
could
it
be
would be
some
a
research.
hobby at that point.
No, no, it's not a hobby anymore then.
Yeah, it would be I don't know, I think then I would become a little competitive. Like, "Okay, I'm gonna do this better than you." And like because I'm slightly competitive by nature, but I'm the most competitive against
Mm,
myself,
okay.
except when he and I play board games.
Okay.
It's game on. So we're both fairly competitive at that point. Like I don't let him win.
Sure.
So yeah. So I think maybe some of that, maybe more of the tech side of things. Like
Hmm.
I used to build websites for fun when I was
Hmm.
little, and then as I got more into theater, I stopped doing that as much.
Sure.
And now it's like, when I was making my website, I kept thinking to myself, man, if I had just kept this up as a hobby, it would be so much easier.
Yeah.
And I was trying to build it. And he said, but you said you used to build websites when you were younger. I said, yeah, but not with WordPress.
But
I
WordPress is
was
so
like hand
powerful. I love
typing
it.
HTML code. Like, this is
Yeah.
different. So I think it would have benefited me to keep that up. But, I didn't know back then that the internet was going to be the crazy thing we have now.
Yeah.
And, so I try to show myself a little grace with that and try to maintain something with that. But we'll say that's my answer.
Nice. Perfect. I love it. All right. Next one. What is your favorite? And this is my favorite question. What is your favorite movie or TV show?
So I will answer both. Favorite movie, Beauty and the Beast, but not the live action one, the animated one from, and it was really cool because Paige O'Hara, who played Belle, came to Raleigh SuperCon last summer. And I said, if I'm going to meet anybody, it's her.
Yeah, it's her.
And I was I was shaking. I don't know if I've ever fangirled that hard for anybody before. But I was like, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. Don't be that. Like, I've met Carrie Fisher and I was like, I didn't cry in front of her, but I completely cried in front of Paige O'Hara. And she was the nicest person. And it was just an amazing experience because I said, you were my favorite Disney princess. Like, that's the first movie I ever remember going to see at the movie theaters. And
That's so cool.
it just left such an effect on me because, contrary to my pictures, I'm not a natural blonde. I'm a brunette. And seeing Belle up there, like, I learned how to read at an early age. And so it was seeing this beautiful, intelligent, strong, brave woman who had a beautiful voice to go with it and who cared about her family. And she wasn't willing to conform to society standards. And seeing that as a little girl was like, wow, that could be me. Like, I had never identified with a character like that. So, getting to meet her and telling her, like, not only are you one of my voice acting heroes, but you're also one of my musical theater heroes. It was a really cool experience. And they always say, like, never meet your heroes, but I think they lied because
they do
she was the nicest. And she's like, oh my gosh, you have such a nice smile. Oh my gosh, I love you. And I was like,
so cool.
She told me she loves me. It was really cool. And so I have the autograph from her in my office. And it's one of the first things I see when I go in to my studio to record. So that's my favorite movie for many, many reasons, which I won't go into. And that's kind of the background on that. But my favorite TV show, hands down, all time, is Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh my God. I grew up watching that show.
Yeah, same. And it just left such an effect on me. And like, I collect Buffy merch. Like, it got me through so much growing up in, like, a difficult time growing up, and still got me through some really difficult moments as an adult. And the writing on it is brilliant, and the character arcs. And I just love everybody's character arcs from seasons 1 through 7. And I definitely relate to Buffy in way too many ways. And I don't think it's a bad thing. Like, they show that she's not a perfect person. And that's what I really like, is like, look, just because she's the chosen one doesn't mean she doesn't have issues.
Exactly.
But everybody's redemption arcs and the way that they grow is just, it's just so good. And I actually told my husband, I said, you're going to watch all of this, all of Buffy with me before we get married. And he laughed. And I said, oh, you think I'm kidding? And that was like a prerequisite. It was like,
and he watched it?
He did. And then he began to really, really enjoy it. And we were watching it. And he said, yeah, I can see how the ways that you identify with her. And I was like, yeah, it makes more sense out of me, I think. It explains a few things about how I operate, but it's my favorite. I feel like it's just such a good show. The metaphors, just everything. It still holds up pretty well. Some of the 90s references. But it's just so good. It's so good, and it's so empowering. And when it ended, I cried. I remember sitting in front of my TV, staring up at it in my bedroom back home, and just, like, crying. I was like, oh, what do I do with my life?
That's so cool. So, fun fact, when I first moved to the United States, um, Buffy the Vampire Slayer was the first show that I watched on a weekly basis
Oh my gosh, that is incredible.
because growing up in Saudi, we didn't really have regular television. We watched. We used to get Full House and Knight Rider, but Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I'm actually following through the story, and it's mainly because I lived with my girl cousins, and they loved watching that show, among other shows that they would watch that I didn't approve of, like Seventh Heaven and the other soaps.
The WB shows,
The
yeah.
WB shows, right?
WB 90s shows, man.
Oh
That
my
was the place
god,
to be.
that was
But
the
yeah,
place to be. Yeah. So Buffy the Vampire Slayer was like, all right, it's got action, it's got vampires. I'm totally down on watching this.
yeah, it was just so good. And I love that it turned the typical, oh no, this girl's gonna walk into an alley and these
Mhm.
vampires are there. And then no. It's
Mhm.
not what you think it is because she's gonna kick their butts,
Yeah.
and like it's just so good. That and Buffy brings people together. I've made
Mhm.
friends because of Buffy. They're like, "You like Buffy? I like Buffy." I said, "Okay, well,
Yes.
now we're friends."
Now we're friends forever.
It's true though. So,
It is very true. Absolutely. And I am jealous that you got to meet Carrie Fisher. I mean, I got into Star Wars one after I moved here, but I didn't watch the original ones when they first came out, even though I was really young. But that's really cool that you got to meet her. And, tell me a little bit about that. If
absolutely. Anytime somebody wants me to tell them, I do because it was one of the best days ever. Like, my wedding's up there, but like Carrie Fisher meeting her and Mark Hamill, like it definitely gives it a run for its money. So
Mhm.
this was 2015 at the
Mhm.
Star Wars celebration in Southern California. So they have
Mhm.
Star Wars conventions throughout the country. And I think they have one in California and one in Chicago. So this was the California one because it was like an hour away from me. So I said, of
Yeah.
course I'm going to go
Mhm.
because I had always wanted to meet her. Like Carrie Fisher has been and still is one of my heroes since I was little. Like I just love how she says, look, you can have issues, but you can't let them keep you down. Like try to find the humor in the things that suck. And I
Yeah.
think that that's really powerful. It's a very powerful statement of, reclaiming your power and saying, okay, just because I have this, that doesn't mean it has me.
Yeah.
I think it's just very motivating. And she's hilarious and intelligent and just nuts. So I saw that she was going to be at the celebration. So I said, yeah, I'm going. So
Mhm.
got my ticket, got an autograph ticket, and I saw that they had a photo op with her and Mark Hamill. And I said, okay, like this is my birthday present to myself. Like this does not happen very often, but
Yeah.
I'm going to give her the majority of my money, but I still want to be able to do this Skywalker twins photo op. Like this is something I can show my kids one day.
Exactly.
So waited in line to meet her and she was a few hours late, but I said that's fine. Like I'm sitting
Mhm.
here. I'm not going. Like I'm here to see her primarily. This is who I'm here to see. And I went with a
Yeah.
couple friends of mine, as we're getting up to the front, I'm kind of starting to do like the handshaky, like the what do I say to her? Because everybody's coming up here going, Princess Leia, I love you. Like she doesn't want to hear that. So what do I
Yeah.
say? What do I say?
Yeah.
And I had that inner monologue going. And I get up to the front and she just looks at me and says, hey, how's it going? And I went, I don't know what to say to you that nobody else has said before. And I went, oh, and she just looked up and went, well, that's a good place to start. And I was just like, oh my God, okay, I think I amused her. So, and she had her dog next to her. And so she's signing my autograph and she says, oh,
Mhm.
this is my dog, Gary. And I'm like, hi, Gary. And he's just, super cute and his tongue sticking out of his mouth. And he's
Yeah.
just the cutest. And I had read an article about how she would sprinkle glitter on people at conventions. And so I
Mhm.
said, okay, this is your chance. Like, ask her now.
Mhm.
And I said, hey, so I've heard that you sprinkle glitter on people. Like, if you have some, would you mind? She says, oh, yeah, let me look in my bag. I probably have some in here. And so I'm just like waiting there. And my friend is looking at me next to me. And she's like, I want glitter too. And I said, Sarah, this is my moment. You wait. So, and of course she finds some. She's like, okay, bring me your head. Come here. And so she sprinkles some on my head. And my friend is like, me too, me too. So she's sprinkling purple glitter on our heads. And I was just like, thank you so much. I love you. And I walked away and I was like, I didn't cry in front of Carrie Fisher. And then as soon as my back was turned, I started bawling as I'm walking
Oh.
away because it was just like, one of the best moments ever. So I waited for my friend to get out of line and we took a selfie with the glitter in our hair and we're like, Carrie Fisher sprinkled us with glitter. Today is the best day ever. So it was just a cool story. And she was just super cool. And like, it's just one of those, like I said, they always say, like, don't meet your heroes. But
Yeah.
the ones that I've met, they've all been nothing but amazing. So it was just one of the coolest stories. And then we took a photo with Carrie and Mark Hamill later, and I swear his eyes looked right through me. It was like not in a bad way, but like I don't know. He has really pretty eyes, and I don't know, but he just like looked at me, and it's like he could see my soul. I don't know
Oh
how
my
to
God.
describe it other than that. But we took a photo with them, and it was like 10 seconds, and it was a great way to end the day. So
Nice.
my thing is, people say, is it worth it to go meet this person and pay the money? I said, honestly, like, if they mean that much to you, you absolutely should do it.
Exactly.
Because had I not done it, she passed a year and a half later.
Yeah.
Had I not done it, I would have regretted it.
Exactly.
But now I've got her stuff. I have like a little Princess Leia shelf in my office. It's Princess Leia and Carrie Fisher stuff in my office. But like
Very cool.
the photo from her is up there. The photo of us with the Skywalker twins is up there. And it's all, those are memories that I have to treasure.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
So that takes us to a very poignant question. Who is your favorite superhero?
I know. And it's just, I would have to say, if I had to, we're gonna just talk comics because like don't try to pin up
only on comics.
Yeah, I know, but I'm like, Buffy Summers is a superhero, but I can't it's like choosing a favorite child. I don't want to do that. So I would say out of all comic book characters, I have to go with Barbara Gordon's Batgirl.
Nice.
Yeah, like as much as like I love Bruce Wayne, we got the same initials, which I didn't even realize until like a year ago. I was like, BW. Wait a minute. Barbara Gordon, ever since the Batman TV show when I was a kid, and I mean like the Adam West with Barbara Gordon, like ever since then, because I grew up, watching that too. And she's always been very much like, I am my own person, and Batman, you can't tell me what to do. I really like that in a character where she says, just because like you think you own the bat symbol, but you don't, like, I'm going to do this because I want to. And she's so smart and she can kick butt. And I've just always really liked that about her. And again, like, in some of the things that happen to her in the comics, when you have a character that's been through some really hard things and they're able to turn it around and find strength in it. I really like, that's like an underlying theme with characters that I really like. And, she went through some really traumatic events, but was like, okay, I'm not going to let these things stop me. And I'm still going to find a way to serve others and to do good, but I'm going to have to do it on these terms and do it on my terms. And I just think she's just the greatest, and she's very underrated. And I really just want a live action Batgirl movie. Like, can we make this happen, please?
Well, they represented Barbara Gordon really nicely in the Lego Batman movie.
They did.
Awesome job.
They did. But like, I want like live action. We were going to get one and then it fell through. And I know. And it was going to be Joss Whedon.
Oh, no way. Awesome.
Yeah. And so I was like over the moon when I was saying like, okay, the guy who created my favorite show ever is going to be, helming the Batgirl movie. And then, stuff happened and it fell through. And now it doesn't look like they're going to do it. But I really want them to, and I want it to be good. Like if we could just get a Batgirl movie that's in the same caliber as Wonder Woman, I just like, I feel like I could die happy.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So I don't know if you watch the TV show Arrow and Flash and DC.
I haven't seen them in a long time.
Okay. So I think they have Barbara Gordon in one of the episodes.
No, it's Kathy Kane. It's Batwoman.
Oh, it's Kathy Kane. It's Batwoman.
Yeah, it's okay. There's Batgirl, Batwoman. It's okay. Yeah, it's Kathy Kane.
So
totally different character.
Barbara Gordon is Batgirl.
Yes.
Oh,
the first one. There's been like a few different Batgirls now, but Batwoman's getting her own TV series.
Woohoo! That would be awesome. Is it CW doing it?
It's CW. I believe they're doing it as a spinoff. So
That's
I'm
awesome.
behind on all of that. Like I'm so behind on so many shows because the wedding and working is
Oh
just kind
yeah,
of
yeah, I totally get it.
taken over. But I got to catch up on, what just came out? Cobra Kai season 2. I got to catch
Mm,
up on that because
okay.
that just got released. And I loved season 1. I love the Karate Kid movies.
Mm,
So I'm excited for that. That'll be my
nice.
next start watching thing.
Well, you just gotta start.
Mm, I know. Tell it to my schedule.
I know, right? Schedule, get it
Just
on the
get me a
board.
clone. It'll be fine. I'll have them do the work. I'll watch all my shows.
For the longest time, for at least 20 years, I've been like, I wish I had a clone. He could go to work and I could do all these fun things and then we can switch off.
Yeah.
And the end of the day, you can have a mind meld or whatever. That'd be so funny. All right. Last question. If you were a board game, what would it be?
I want to say Monopoly, but like
Mhm.
that ruins friendships. So it's just like my sister-in-law says that she will never play Monopoly with my husband and I ever again. She played it once when we had just gotten engaged, and she's like, "No, I'm not playing this with you guys ever again." So we're not going to go with
Competitor.
Monopoly.
You got like 5, 10 hotels on the board. Like,
Yeah, no. Like I said, when we play board games, we get
mhm,
competitive. So Uh, that's a good question. There was a Buffy board game, and I
mhm.
have it in my dining room.
Ooh,
I know, I know. I might just have to say I would be the Buffy board game
there
because
you go.
sometimes the different scenarios, I'm not
Mhm.
saying the Slayer always wins, but when I play, she does. So that's probably
You
like,
should do some
maybe not the best
videos
answer.
of you playing the game,
Oh
the
my
board game.
gosh.
That'd be so fun.
That could be fun. I feel like people would just say, man, she's really competitive.
I don't care about that, but you imagine all the Buffy fans. They'll come flock to your videos.
That could be cool. I mean, I've had it. Let me see. The game only goes through seasons 1 through 4. So I think
Mhm.
I got it honestly 20 years ago, and the box is in shreds because it has gone
Oh,
with me
of course,
everywhere I've
everywhere.
lived.
Yeah.
So it's like a vintage piece at this point, but like
Mhm.
you have to use your smarts and you have to really be strategic with what you're doing. And there's always like new vampires cropping up and you're trying to fight them. Like, I only have a stake and Willow has dynamite, but we're not playing the mayor, so we don't get as many points for that. So
Yeah.
it's just you have to be, yeah, I'm going to say the Buffy game because then I get to be Buffy and you have
There
to
you
be
go.
strategic and like you have to think 12 steps ahead, but
Awesome.
you still have to take action. Ooh, I
Mhm.
like that. I like this question.
This is cool. I
It
love it.
is cool. Okay,
Well,
everything relates back to Buffy.
boom. I think we've done a really good job of. So, okay, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, absolutely awesome TV show. Have you followed the actor
Sarah Michelle Gellar?
Sarah Michelle Gellar in the different TV shows that she's been in?
Absolutely. I think she's great. I really liked her. I like the Scooby-Doo movies. Yes,
Mhm.
I said it. I thought those were fun. But yeah, all of her TV shows after that, like Ringer and the Crazy Ones with Robin
Mhm.
Williams, like I watch that. Anything she's in, I'll go see it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I tried to get into Ringer, and the content wasn't exactly what I like to watch in TV shows.
Hmm.
I absolutely love the Crazy Ones.
Yeah, the Crazy
That
Ones was
was
really fun.
really fun TV show to watch, and it was a lot of fun. Cool. I love it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. This was a lot of fun. I never thought about what board game I am before, so now I guess we have our answer.
We do. Last question. Where can my audience find you?
Okay. You can find me on my website at vosuperhero.com, which is also basically all of my social media handles are
Nice.
Instagram, VO Superhero. At Twitter, I'm at VO_superhero because somebody else took it a long time ago and I can't
Oh
seem to
man.
get it from them. I know. I
Mhm.
know. It was active in like 2008 or something. I'm like, just give me the handle. So maybe one day I can get that. But
Yeah.
I'm over there. Yeah, I'm on Facebook at Bonnie Marie Williams, voiceover superhero. So if you just type
Nice.
in voiceover superhero or VO
Yeah.
superhero, you'll find
Get
me.
everything there. Mm-hmm.
Because I made sure nobody else had it when I got that flash of insight. Like, no, this is my thing.
Yeah.
I looked and I saw nobody else had it except for that random guy on Twitter. So, but he didn't have a website built on it, so I took it. But
very cool.
That's where you can find me. I like to post lots of different fun things, and it's always superhero related because, you know, superheroes are so pervasive because we always want to see somebody doing something wonderful and see the potential that we could have for ourselves. So especially when, you know, things kind of feel like they're a little scary in the world, you know, that's why we have superheroes that remind us that we can be better and we can do better.
Exactly. Love it. On that note, just looking at your Insta, and Eliza Dushku from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I had a chance to chat with good friend Tom Malloy. He got to work with her in a movie. I think it was The Alphabet Killer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I was like, whoa, small world.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's a ton of fun. But I absolutely had a ton of fun talking with you, learning about your journey, your story. So many pop culture references, and the mind frequency is like in tune right now. It's
totally
amazing.
Yeah.
I love it. And
it's just so much fun. Thank you.
Super fun. Again, thank you so much for coming out to the podcast. I'll be sure to include the links on the show notes, and people can reach you and check out your work on vosuperhero.com. Thank you so much, Bonnie.
Yeah, thank you. This was a blast. Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Hacks and Hobbies. You can find additional information on the guest today on their website, hacksandhobbies.com. Please feel free to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss out on upcoming interviews with amazing guests.